There's an email address that you can use there. There's a pickleball tournament coming on up, and some other things that are happening. There also on your table is a lunch and learn flyer, and it just tells you everything else that's happening this summer. So we have lunch and learn events that are designed for adults. We also have some that are designed, because it's summer, to bring your teenagers to, or other friends to. And so next week we've got an opportunity for those of you who are parents to help educate your kids on the basics of personal finance. Some parents said, hey, we'd love our kids to understand budgeting before they go to college, and they won't listen to us. And so we've got a great financial planner who's going to be here for that. And then you'll see a number of the other topics that are happening this summer. Lunch and Learns are always open to the community. We do export a lot of these as well. And so if you work for a company and your company provides Lunch and Learns, and you ever see a topic that you'd say, hey, our company would benefit from that, we'd love to give that to you as a gift from the Family Resource Initiative. We never charge to bring our speakers to your companies, to your schools, to your book clubs, to your family Thanksgiving dinners. So just talk to us about it afterwards, and we're not going to come on Thanksgiving, but maybe Friendsgiving, all right? So it'll be a good event. But we have great speakers, and our speakers are a variety of counselors, pastors, business leaders, experts in different fields, and so we'd love to do that. And our experts today are experts in pickleball. They will tell you they're not, but we believe they are, all right? Because I've spent some time with them. Charlie and Denise Ostlund really discovered their joy of pickleball in retirement, and it's become something that they love, and I'm going to let them tell more of their story, so I'm not going to steal it all. But they have been members here at Wooddale Church for years. Many of you know them and are friends of them. For some of you, these will be new friends in your life, and they've just got a real passion for helping people fall in love with the fastest growing sport in America. So would you welcome up Charlie and Denise? Come on up.
Well, thank you for coming out for Wooddale's Pickleball Lunch and Learn. As Brian mentioned, I'm Denise, my husband Charlie, and we began pickleball back in 2014 when we were in Arizona vacationing with some of our friends. And we are not experts of the game. We just love it. We're passionate about it. Pickleball for us has been, I say it's like a bridge to deepen friendships, get to know new people, strengthen your mind and body. It's a very social game, and we've just had a blast with it over the years and want to share that joy with all of you. So we'll do our best to teach you the basics of pickleball. We've got a slide show, and then we'll go out, like Brian mentioned, go out to the courts and play.
As Denise mentioned, we're not expert pickleball players. We are also not expert presenters, so you'll see that in action too. So,
hopefully we won't talk over each other.
right. So, this is my granddaughter, Elin. She was what, 2?
Now 6. She's 18 months.
Okay. So, we try to start him young. But anyway, the great thing about pickleball, it's multi-generational. You can easily play with your kids or your grandkids. It's a sport that you can take way into your 80s. We started playing pickleball in Arizona. Some friends of ours introduced us to that, and we played a 80-ish year old woman that I think had a stroke, and she beat us. But a lot of it is finesse and skill. It's not just all power. So that's kind of why you can keep going through life and playing this game. You don't have to run all over the court, which I like because it's a little less work than like tennis. But anyway, so where can you play pickleball? Mark, you want to click that for some reason? You know what? Is it stuck? All right, the wonders of technology, as we just talked about, we're expert presenters, maybe not. There we are. Okay, so upper left, we're playing on vacation in the Rockies of Colorado. We're playing at the Wooddale Edina in the gym. Also Wooddale Edina's parking lot. The neighbors have striped the parking lot. Another neighbor's got a net. And right now, Monday nights at Edina, it's a fairly spirited, skilled game, and it starts at 6:30. And if you're up for a challenge, these guys are actually pretty good. It's a lot of fun. They usually get the neighbors, 8 to 12 neighbors. And so that's a good time. We have a portable net also, which you see in the right. We were a little desperate last year. We were in Wisconsin, and we tried playing on the dirt. That's even more challenging because you hit rocks, grass. But, you know, if you're desperate, we'll talk about pickleball addiction later. You can also play on a cruise ship.
Nice.
You might recognize Jim and Mel Angel in a lot of our
We didn't get a release from them yet. Is this okay? Good. Okay. And, you know, one of the best places to play is right out the door. We've got 3 new courts. It has fenced between. It has a windscreen around it. It has lights. This is about as good as you can get, and it's convenient. And this is so we actually are very lucky to have. I shouldn't say lucky. We're very fortunate and blessed to have the courts here. We've got 3 of them. So our next slide is going to be Introduction to Pickleball.
Pickleball is played on a rectangular 44-foot by 20-foot court. The court is divided into 2 sides by a low net.
There are 2 sidelines, 2 baselines, a center line on each side, as well as 2 non-volley lines, which create 2 non-volley zones that are affectionately called the kitchen.
The center line divides each side into 2 service courts, the left service court and the right service court. Every point begins with a serve. A pickleball serve must be hit underhand from behind the baseline, cross court into the opposing team's service court. The serve must clear the net and not land in the kitchen. An important rule in pickleball is the double bounce rule. The double bounce rule says the ball must bounce once on each side before either team may start volleying the ball in the air. Here is an example of the serve and bounce rule. When Team A serves to Team B, they must let the ball bounce once before returning the serve. Team A must also let the ball bounce once on their side. After the ball is bounced on both sides, either team may volley the ball into the air or let the ball bounce once before striking it. The rally will continue until one of the teams either hits the ball in the net, out of bounds, or lets the ball bounce on their side twice. A unique but important aspect of pickleball is the non-volley zone or kitchen. Players may not hit the ball while standing in the kitchen unless the ball has already bounced on their side. Pickleball is a fun and exciting sport.
So next we're going to talk a little bit about the equipment that you will need to play pickleball. So the first thing is the balls. So there's 2 different kinds of pickleballs. There's an indoor and an outdoor. The indoor ball, as you can see in Charlie's right hand, has larger holes. It's a little bit softer, a little bit lighter weight versus the outdoor ball, which has smaller holes and more holes, a little bit heavier and a little bit harder. Hence, the outdoor balls tend to crack a little easier than the indoor. Second is a paddle. So Charlie was able to get some loaners from Michael Lind Tennis Shop in St. Louis Park. So there's a variety of paddles. There's different shapes, different weights, different type of edge guards. Some have like a plastic around, some are edgeless. There's different grips. Some of the grips or the paddle or handle, I should say, are longer than others. And then, of course, there's a wide range of costs. I think over there, Charlie has a paddle that starts at like $50 or $60. This one's 70. On up to. A little over 200. A lot depends on composition. This is all carbon fiber. Some of them are honeycomb, some of them are fiberglass. There's lots of different materials. And like Charlie said, the composition makes the difference in the cost of the paddle, as well as when you look to purchase a paddle, the nice thing about Michael Lynn, they'll let you take, is it 3 or 4? You leave your driver's license free for, say you take them out 2-3 days, take them out on a Friday, you can have them all weekend, bring them back, free of charge. It's a really great way to try a paddle before you make the investment. And the paddles, they're really great at helping you know, okay, this is a paddle that's going to help you with precision versus power. Heavier paddles, more power. So, if you're looking to begin, maybe you just start with one of the lower price paddles and eventually work your way up if you decide to stick with the game.
So if you want to start out and you want to keep the price down, I was at Shields, which we do have a gift certificate, which we'll raffle off later. And they've got a 2-pack for $100 with 4 balls. Now, they've got pretty decent paddles. You've got, Amazon has got a 2-pack, I think it's $90. These are Church's paddles here. Costco had them, they're all out. They had a 2-pack for about $80, $90. Otherwise, I would recommend borrowing someone else's paddles when you first start, or going to Michael Lynn's and just trying them out. Because each paddle is kind of specific to your game, and whether you say you have an arm issue or lots of different things. So it's not one paddle's best, it's just what might be best for you, might not be best for your neighbor.
So the pickleball court, it's basically half the size of a tennis court. So it's 44 in length and 20 feet in width. And then the non-volley zone is that light blue area. It's called a non-volley zone because you cannot step into that and hit the ball in the air, so you're not going to volley it in the air. It's also called the kitchen, so you want to stay out of the kitchen. You can hit the ball once it bounces in the non-volley / kitchen area. And then the net for pickleball is 34 inches in height, which is about 2 inches shorter than a tennis net. So next is a demo of pickleball doubles game. You can play doubles or singles, and note that these are professionals. It's pretty fast. So the idea, as you watch them play, the idea is for all 4 of you to get up to that non-volley zone. You see how they're both, all 4 are trying to stay up at that zone? But if you pop the ball high in the air, then you're able to slam it, and then you end up being defensive and have to move back. But you want to stay, yeah, pretty fun. Gets really fast as you get better at the game. So next, Charlie's going to talk about some of the shots you want to master in pickleball.
And if you can't read these slides, which you probably can't, you can email me at pickleball@wooddale.org, and I can send you those in an email, because we got a lot of text here, unfortunately, unless you've got telescopic eyes. I don't think you're going to be able to read it. But you've got a ground stroke, which is simply just a shot that after the ball has bounced on the ground. A volley is a shot that is hit in the air that hasn't bounced. And then a dink is a shot that's kind of I guess it's dual income. No, kids? No, that's not it. It's something completely different. A dink is a type of a ground stroke that is used at or near the net. This is kind of the bread and butter of how you can, I think, win a game, is you just get your short game down and just get it over the net and let the other team make the mistake. Wow. I talk about serve?
Sure. The serve is a super important shot, or stroke. Shot, I guess. The serve is the way you start the game, obviously, And it's different from tennis in that in pickleball, your serve needs to be underhanded or underhand, and then you need to connect with the ball at or below the waist. And then there's two different serves. You can do a drop serve or a bounce serve. And we'll see, I think we might have a demo of both of those. I'm not sure, but. And then there's the lob, that's in the air. Typically, you want to lob it in the air over the opponent's head. And then you also have a cross-court dink. The dink, again, is that short shot just over the net, and it'll land in the non-volley zone or the pickleball kitchen.
If you go to the other shots you want to master, really is your deep return serve. So when somebody serves to you, you try to keep your opponent's back in the court versus letting them get up close to that non-volley zone or kitchen line. So you want to practice so you can keep returning their serve way back, so that gives you time to get up to the volley zone where you have the advantage. A backhand punch and also a block shot, they're similar. That's when you're typically at the non-volley zone or kitchen line and you're being more defensive and you're just kind of pushing the ball. Usually the opponent might have a lot of velocity on the ball and you don't need to hit it as much as just redirect it. So those are a couple of shots that you'll be working on. And here's the favorite one, is the overhead smash. You saw that in some of the ones where it's kind of the slam dunk of basketball where a lot of fun, maybe it's a little vengeance involved or something, but somebody pops up the ball, which is typically if somebody does a bad dink shot or something, it gets a little too high, and you slam it down at them and pretty much got the point. So third shot drop.
Third shot drop, super important shot to master, super hard one. We've been working on it for years, and maybe we make 50% of them. So in pickleball, the serve is one shot, the return is your second, and then the serving team has the third shot. And you're typically at the baseline, and the third shot drop is it's kind of a long dink. You're at the baseline, you're gonna dink it, arc the ball, and you want it to drop in the kitchen on your opponent's side. And what that does is it gives you a chance to get up to that non-volley zone to begin the game. And then, of course, the drive is just a hard shot, typically from the baseline. It can be from the pickleball or the kitchen line also. But it's one you don't want to use regularly, but there's times when you do want to have that drive. The next slide is pickleball scoring.
Pickleball is usually played to 11 points, win by 2. Pickleball can be played as singles or doubles. Every rally begins with a serve. Only the serving team can score a point by winning a rally. In doubles, each player on a team has a chance to serve. Before each serve, the server should call out the score by saying his or her team score first, then the opposing team score, and then his or her server number, which may either be 1 or 2. The player in the right service court will always serve first for a team. If the serving team scores a point, the two players switch places, so the first server now serves from the left service court. The serving team will continue switching places until they lose a rally. When the serving team loses a rally, the second server will now serve from her current position. Once the serving team loses another rally, the opposing team now has 2 chances to serve. This is called a side out. Here is an example. The score here is 4-3, with the serving team in the lead. The first server is still serving. The score is called out as 4-3-1. The serving team loses the rally, so now the second server will serve and call out the score as 4-3-2. The serving team wins the rally, so the serving team will switch places. The second server will call out the score as 5-3-2 and serve. The serving team loses the rally this time, so it is side out. And now the opposing team has 2 chances to serve. The first server on the opposing team will call out the score as 3-5-1 before serving. The only exception to both players serving is with the very first server of a game. The very first server of the game still serves from the right service court, but he or she starts as the second server to not give the first team serving an unfair advantage. The very first score of the game is called out as 0-0-2. This means that as soon as the serving team faults, side out is called and the other team gets to serve. In singles play, each player only serves once. Once a player loses the rally, it is side out. It is only necessary to call out the score during singles, and not the server's number. It is important to keep track of which service court you serve from. If your score is an even number, you should be serving from the right service court. If your score is odd, you should be serving from the left service court.
So don't get too freaked out about scoring, as that's usually the comment we get from people we teach is, "Oh, I love the game, but that scoring is just so weird." And so you'll learn it once you start playing. So don't worry about it. It's odd, but you'll catch on. So here's a few tips for new players: don't try to serve hard with lots of spin or near the sidelines. You want to just put the ball in play and worry about your technique later. It's a lot more fun just to start the game going, because sometimes people try to get a little too creative right off the bat, and just kind of get the game started and then worry about that later. Loft service returns so they go deep, giving you time to get to the non-volley line. And what I mentioned earlier was about when you're returning a serve, you can make sure you get it back far enough in their court, and also you can have it arc, because you want to make sure you get up to the non-volley zone or the kitchen line so you have the competitive advantage. Remember that both the serve and the serve return must bounce once before you can hit the ball. This is a common error you're going to experience when you play, is you're going to serve, they're going to return, and you're going to creep up to the kitchen line and you're going to hit the ball before it bounces back. It's got to bounce there, and it's got to bounce back where you're serving, and then you can volley the ball without hitting it. So you'll do that. It's a common error, but something you'll get used to. And every once in a while, you still screw that up, but it's all good. You want to face the player who hit the ball, not the net. You will be better placed to hit the ball. And I guess all that means is, if they're hitting over there, it's a little tough to hit the ball.
There's a variety of positions for the paddle. Some people like to have the paddle. I thought, next slide? I don't recognize that music. I personally like to have my paddle at like 12 o'clock, arms out when I'm up at the pickleball line. Some people like the 10 o'clock so that they're ready for a backhand, and then they can come this way. But whatever's comfortable with you, as far as you want to make sure you have that paddle up and not down at your side. Let your opponent make the mistakes. Try to keep the ball in play. Return your baseline shots to the center line. That's an exceptionally hard shot when it comes down the middle, because you think, oh, my teammate's going to grab that middle one, or vice versa. So center line's a great shot. Use your forehand for power, especially on the serve return. I know for me, if I'm returning a serve and it hits my backhand, because I'm at the baseline and I want to return it long, I tend to use two hands for my backhand. Again, placement is much more important than power in pickleball. A little bit different than the tennis game, where you're at the baseline a lot of the game and it's a lot of power. Pickleball, as you've seen in some of the clips, it's placing that ball in certain parts of the court, often a short little dink shot. Don't Don't try to make a lot of sideline shots. They're kind of sweet if you can do it. I think Jim has mastered that sideline shot, but it's narrow, so great chance that it goes out. Make a note when you get to know your opponents. If they're strong on their backhand or forehand, you go for, of course, the weaker side. Let's see what else. So don't try to take your partner's shots. We've learned it's best. We're notorious for that. If you can get in the habit of saying mine, or yours, talking a little bit, especially on those center line shots, it's easy to kind of get into somebody else's space and take a shot you think is going to be sweet. All right, what's next?
A little bit on grip.
You want to do it?
Sure. So we're already kind of talking about the paddle grip, but the continental grip is kind of the go-to, and you'll see it's kind of like shaking hands as far as gripping the paddle. There's no real right and wrong way to grip the paddle. It's kind of what works best for you, but this is typically the most common way to grab or grip the paddle. We have a video next from a former champion who's going to talk about your paddle positioning, in other words, where you have the paddle while you're playing. Mark, I think you have to hit that one.
And today my tip for you is a variation on the ready position. Two very popular ready positions, both of them having pros and cons, but one of them is the 12 o'clock and the other one is the 9 o'clock that favors the backhand, which works for some players, but not for a lot of us. When you are at that 12 position, sometimes what happens when the ball comes over to the left shoulder, I find them going like this and taking the paddle over to the left side, and the tendency is that the ball goes down to the net. Also, if you are here on the 9 o'clock position, this elbow gets exposed, also known as the chicken wing. So the ball, the target here is your elbow. We tend to come here, paddle goes up, balls pop up. We don't want that. So a variation that I found very helpful for my clients, it's a 10 o'clock position. If you picture that clock in front of you, here's 12, you have 11, and here's 10. And I want to keep my elbow tucked in and my hands up, about belly button high. And again, what I'm doing here is that I'm going to cover 75% of my shots. I'm going to be able to come over and hit a backhand. So I got here, all of this area covered. However, if the ball comes over to my right side, to that chicken wing position, I can bring my paddle from the 10 to the 2 o'clock. So now I have a forehand here.
So the paddle position, another thing I think, especially tennis players, when they first start playing pickleball, is they have the giant tennis swing. And you don't really need to necessarily have that giant tennis swing a lot of times. You notice towards the end there, she's more like what a chop swing or it's a quarter swing. So it obviously depends on your situation, but kind of keep that in mind that a lot of the shots you're going to take are more of a shorter, quick movement, because if you have a giant swing, sometimes you don't have enough time to make that full backswing to hit it if you're at the non-volley zone. The balls are going to be on you. So we're going to watch another slide here on court positioning. So we're going to just run it through first. Now, these are professionals, and don't try this at home.
Pickleball, Elise Jones, just watch this defense. 1, 2, 3, and that scoop. Full layout from Elise. They get reset, neutralized, and then it's Riley Newman with the finishing combination.
All right, nothing to that, right? That's pretty easy. So, Mark, we're going to run that hopefully again, and then I'll have you stop and start it, and we'll kind of comment. So let's see if we can get that started again.
Pickleball, Elise Jones, just watch this defense.
All right, stop it. Okay, you can see as he served it, they returned it, and now the service team are they walking, crawling up to the net? No, they're actually running up there because you notice the other team's already at, I should say, not the net, the non-volley zone or the kitchen line. That's statistically where you're going to win the game. So they want to get up there as fast as they possibly can. Okay, Mark, hit it. Stop. Okay, so you watch. She's in the defensive mode, but you notice that a lot of her shots, she's very low to the ground. Sometimes you're going to have to bend your knees and you're going to have to change your body position a lot. Everyone on the court's kind of got a different position, but standing kind of straight up like this, typically you're going to get annihilated. You're going to have to move, and a lot of times you're going to have to bend and get a lot lower. Go ahead, Mark.
2, 3, and that scoop.
Stop it. Okay, so I don't know. I'd love to see what happened there when she went flying off there. But anyway, so you can see the other team did a slam, and she managed to get back and return the ball. And that's a really hazardous play there as far as she's running almost backwards a lot. And we have, unfortunately, a lot of our friends and players that we've played with get injured playing pickleball. And that's probably the most hazardous movement right there, is going backwards, because obviously you're not quite as good running or even just moving backwards. So have a care, and a lot of times what we do now is we try, when we're playing together, is the other person will stay up and the partner is going to run back and grab that ball because they can run forwards. So that's kind of a safety thing. Obviously these are trained professionals here, but go ahead, Mark.
Full layout from Elise.
Okay, they slowed the game back down here. See how it's slowed down? They're keeping it low to the net.
Reset,
That's your dinking game.
neutralized,
Cross court, now it's back
and then
up.
it's Riley Newman.
And
with the
they didn't make the
finishing
dink, and they won the
combination.
point. So there again, that was an extreme example, but moving back and forth on the court and also moving with your partner, it's more advanced, but it's kind of something to think about. So next slide is going to be just a sample of pickleball singles. So it's just one person against one person. I find that a lot of work, actually, but.
6-2. So 6-2 here, game 2.
Oh my goodness, Jocelyn DeVilliers with the ATP ridiculous slice winner.
He said what's called the ATP. It's around the post. So you don't have to get the ball over the net to score. So that was at a great enough angle that the guy actually hit the ball around the post and back into the opponent's play area and scored. It's extremely hard to defend against because then the ball is almost going sideways. So there again, advanced technique, but you don't have to score by keeping it to go over the net. You personally can't touch the net, however.
So singles obviously is a great workout. I mean, playing, like we'll play a couple hours doubles, great workout too, but singles, you're running a whole lot more. So sometimes if Charlie and I are just playing together, or if we have not enough to play a doubles game, we'll play what's called skinny singles. So that would be, we'd either divide the court diagonally or right in front of each other and just play half the court, which is doable. It creates an opportunity to really work on where you're placing that ball. So it's got double benefits.
6-2.
So 6.
I'll let you do this.
All right, this is not the back of a cigarette pack. Warning, pickleball can be hazardous to your health and addictive. And I have people in this room that will swear by this. It's also beneficial for your physical, mental, and social well-being. So it is a fun sport. However, don't underestimate the sport as far as your activity. If you're not used to flying around the court, certainly stretch out and really just think about your limitations Like I said, we have played against people in their 80s, and you certainly can do that, but you can get injured too, and mainly by running backwards is probably the most common injury we see. Slip, trip, and fall, that's about 90% of it. But so have a care when you're out there, and the most important thing, though, is don't forget to have fun. It's a great way to socialize. We talked about that before, but right out there is a great court. And has anyone not thrown their name in for a raffle? Anyone not in the raffle yet? So we've got 5 $25 gift certificates from Michael Lynn's Tennis was generous, and they gave us 4 $25 gift certificates, and Shields in Eden Prairie gave us a $25 gift certificate. So Michael Lynn's also borrowed us the paddles, so we can try those out. I think both places have got great selection of paddles. So are you? All right.
Shut your eyes, because there's names on both sides. I don't want to be accusing me here.
All right. So
All right, here we go.
first winner is Roger Sonneson. Where's Roger?
All right.
Do you want a Shields or Michael Lynn tennis gift card? All right. Thank you, Roger. All right, for the next of 4 Michael Lynn tennis $25 gift certificates.
Julie Tufford.
Oh, look at that. That is a winning table. Oh, we have shuffled. We have shuffled big time.
Going for another table. Mel Angel. All right. What do we got? 2 more, Char? Karen Flynn. All right, Karen. 1 more. Joyce Ramsey. All right, hit this side. So, questions? Marcy. Yep. Correct. Yep. So it's called non-volley because you cannot stand in the kitchen and hit the ball in the air. A volley would be hitting it in the air without a bounce. So say this is the non-volley or kitchen. If I'm in it, I can't hit it in the air. I have to, if I'm standing here, I have to hit it on a bounce first. So I can be standing there. You typically don't want to stand there because you can get hit with the ball so easily. So if I'm at the non-volley kitchen line right here, a dink comes over the net, bounces, then I can step in and hit it after it bounces.
All right, Roger.
Does that help? Okay.
Question I had was, supposing the ball hits you and you're in the kitchen, or if you're not in the kitchen, can you take it off the hop, off the ground, or is it a dead ball, or what?
I think once it hits you, it's the opponent's point. So you don't want to stand in that kitchen because you're a target. They can hit you. And even if, say I'm serving the ball to this direction, sometimes on a receiving team, the player not receiving the ball will hug that center line to kind of distract you. If I were to serve it and hit them, it's my ball. It's their side out. So you don't really want to get hit with the ball. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
That helps a little bit. Also, I wanted to know about spin. You didn't mention anything about spin as you hit the ball, etc.
Yeah, you can spin all you want. The only time you can't spin is if you're doing a drop serve, which I don't think we saw a drop serve, but it's when you drop the ball, let it bounce once, and then you hit it. So you can't spin that ball when you drop it. Both serves, yeah. Can't spin it
And as we explained earlier, I think you master the general techniques before you add spin, because accuracy is much more important than the spin on the ball. Now, later on, you can cut the ball or top spin or whatever. It's going to add an extra dimension to your game, so certainly add it at some point, but it just depends where you are in the game.
Right here.
Yes, I was wondering what happens if you're serving and the ball nicks the net but stays in play.
That actually is, now it's good. So as long as it lands in the opponent's correct box, it's still a good ball. And you only get one serve, so if you drill it into the net, unlike tennis, you don't get a let, or whatever it is. You lose your service. You lose your service,
Yep.
That being said, you said in the box. So if it hits the net and lands in the kitchen, then it is not a good serve.
And the kitchen line, too.
Kitchen line, yep.
Line is not a good serve, so you got to get it past kitchen line, this one's right here, so it's got to be past this line, and you're serving to this guy, it has to be in that blue box. These lines count, this line does not count, and the kitchen doesn't count.
Good questions.
The ball has to bounce in the court. Once it's, but really, obviously, if you can hit the ball and it lands in their court and goes way out of their court, typically it's a great shot. We did see the one ATP around the post where it landed in the kitchen or non-volley zone, and the guy hit it around the post. So that's a tough shot, but it's a great shot. So, but anyway, if it pretty much anything goes, really, once you're in the volley stage.
All right, we'll do one more question, and then we're going to get you out in the courts. So we want to make sure you get some time. So, yeah.
Is it allowed to hit the ball while it's in the kitchen, and then once I hit the ball, I can step on the kitchen?
That's a good question. So your momentum carried you into the kitchen, let's say?
Yeah.
Actually, you can't do that. You have to be in the kitchen even after you hit it. The ball had to have bounced in there. And the reason why otherwise is, let's say this is the kitchen line, is you could jump towards the net and smash the ball. The kitchen is 7 feet, or the non-volley zone is 7 feet wide, deep, I guess. So a good jumper could literally jump from the line all the way up to the net and just smash it. So that's why you have to make sure that if you hit the ball, you can jump around the corner. That's called an Ernie. So if you're around at the corner, you can, as long as you don't land in the no volley zone, when you hit it, it doesn't have to bounce in there. So if you're a great jumper, you can jump over the whole thing to the side.
Wonderful.
All right, so we
All
do
right.
have paddles up here too. If you want to take a peek at those, we'll be taking them out to the court. So it's a great way to try paddles.
And just really quick, before we go out, there were some drinks on your tables today. You got some samples, and Faith Jensen is here. Faith owns EP Power with Derek, and I just gave you a quick spiel here. Go ahead.
Hi, guys. The tea that you had today, it's a blended green tea. It's B6, B12, ginkgo gloma, and it's great for focus and energy. It's sweetened with stevia, so it is gluten-free and diabetic-friendly. We do protein teas, protein shakes, coffees, and then we have some protein snacks as well, and we're located right next to Tavern 4 and 5.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And we've got more of that in our office if you'd like some more. So.
All right, and thanks to our sponsors, Shields Sports in Eden Prairie and also Michael Lynn Tennis. We have Michael Lynn cards up here, so if you want to try some paddles out, it's a great way to try out a few paddles. I think I tried out about 8 before I bought my paddle I have now. So, oh, one more? Okay. Correct. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As my slide states, it is hazardous, and it's, there's people in the room that have experienced this, and I guess you have to have a care as far as know your own body, because we've taught lessons where somebody's charging towards the net and they found out that they can't stop their charging quite as fast, and they just go right through the net. And running backwards is probably the worst case scenario. It's called, I used to be a ski patrol, it's foosh, fell on outstretched hand. That's very common. Slip, fall, put your hand back, and you break your wrist. So it's something to think about. You can't really put a wrist guard on because the game involves your wrist. So I guess have a care and really know your limitations and certainly stretch out.
I was just going to add, too, I personally like to wear a court shoe. If you've got a running shoe that has a real thick sole, you know how a running shoe, sometimes the sole is wider than the shoe. That's an easier thing to catch. So a court, you don't have to necessarily invest in a court shoe, but I would just not use a good running shoe that has that extra sole that can catch on the surface and trip.